Hello dear students and welcome again to our class. In today's class and during the seventh week we are going to have a revision for the present perfect, the affirmative sentences, negative sentences and the questions. Can you remember I have two questions and two sentences? Can you remember the structure that we are using now in these sentences and the questions? The sentences are: my son has just started university. The weather has been terrible since Monday. Questions: have you taken the dog for a walk? Where have your neighbors gone? So in these two sentences and these two questions, I have used a specific structure. Can you remember this structure? Now, excellent. We are talking about the present perfect. We used the present perfect in the previous sentences and questions. Now, together, let's revise the structure of a sentence used in it the present perfect. Now, as we all know, a sentence in English starts with a subject, which is the doer of the action, a verb, which is the action in the sentence, and a complement. If we are using the present perfect, we are going to use a subject, the same structure of a sentence, and the verb is going to be the auxiliary have, the auxiliaries have or has, with the verb three, which is the past participle plus the complement. Remember that we use has with the singular subject, he, she, it, and we use have with the plural subject like I, we, they, and you. So this is the structure of an affirmative sentence in the present perfect. Now moving to the form of negative sentences and the questions in the present perfect. For the negative sentences, we are going to start the sentence with the subject haven't or hasn't, which is the contraction of have not and has not, with past participle or verb three plus the complement. We were always saying during our classes that whenever we are saying the word negative, it means adding not to the sentence, and that's why I have, haven't, and hasn't in the sentence. Now let's move to the questions. I have two types of questions: yes or no question and WH questions. First of all, we are going to start with the yes or no questions. As you can see in front of you, the structure of a yes or no question in the present perfect is going to start with the auxiliary have or has plus the subject, followed by verb 3, which is the past participle, and the complement. So if you noticed, all we have done is to switch between the place of the subject and the auxiliaries have or has. Now the answer of these questions is yes or no, this type of questions. Moving to the other type of questions, which is the WH questions. The WH questions is the questions where I am going to use the WH words, which are who, when, where, what, which, and so on. So a WH sentence, a WH question is going to start with WH word plus the auxiliary have or has, followed by the subject, followed by the past participle of the verb or verb 3 and the complement, and don't forget the question mark at the end of the question. The answer of this type of questions is a piece of information. So a negative sentence, we are going to use haven't or hasn't. Yes or no question, all you have to do is to switch between the auxiliary and the subject, so it's going to start with have or has. WH question start with the WH word followed by have or has, subject, verb 3, and complement. This is for all four negative sentences and the questions in the present perfect. Now let's talk about the uses of the present perfect. When do I use the present perfect? The first use of the present perfect is for an action that happened in the past but whose results are obvious in the present. So, the first use of the present perfect is when a verb happens in the past but the results or the evidence of this verb are still obvious in the present. Take a look at this example in front of you. In the past, the room was in a mess, but now it is tidied. So I can say, she has tidied her room. Why did I use the present perfect? Because the action or the verb happened in the past, so she tidied her room in the past, but I have a result in the present, which is that the room is clean and tidied. So I am going to say she has tidied her room. I have obvious results in the present. The second use of the present perfect is for an action that has just finished. It has the same idea of the previous point whenever you have an evidence in the present. So take a look at this picture. The man is full with painting and he is holding a piece of drawing in his hand. So I can say he has just finished painting. How did I know? From the evidence that I can see in the present. So we use it for an action that has just finished. The third use for the present perfect is for an action that started in the past and hasn't finished yet. So for example, they went to this school or they started going to this school in 2002 and they are still going to this school. So I am going to say they have been in this school since 2002. The fourth action, to talk about life experience, things that you have done or haven't done. So I can say, I have never been to a church. This is talking about life experience. So to talk about your life experience, you are going to use the present perfect. After talking about the uses of the present perfect, now it is time to talk about the keywords that are used with the present perfect. The first two keywords that we are going to talk about are ever and never. First, ever is used in questions only to ask about life experience. So the word or the key word ever is used in questions only to ask about life experience. For example, have you ever gone to England? So I am using ever with the present perfect questions only to ask about life experience. For never, it is used in sentences to talk about an experience you have never done, something that you haven't done in your life. So for example, I have never traveled by train. So ever and never are two of the keywords that we use with the present perfect. Ever is used only in questions. Never is used in sentences to talk about an experience that you have never done, whereas ever is used in questions to ask about life experience. Talking about two other keywords that are used in the present perfect, I have the two keywords just and already. Starting with just. Just is used to talk about very recent action. So take a look at this example. She has just sent the email, which means that the action happened recently. Already. Already is used to say that something has happened earlier than expected. So I am expecting a certain time for this action to happen, but it happened earlier than I expected, so we are going to use the present perfect. For example, she has already sent the email. She sent the email, or she has sent the email before I expected. So this is all for the two keywords, just and already. Another very important keyword for the present perfect is yet. Yet is used in negative sentences and questions only. So the keyword yet is only used in negative sentences and questions. For example, they haven't cleaned their room yet. So I have haven't, which is a negative. So they haven't cleaned their room yet. It is a negative sentence. The other example, have they cleaned their room yet? So it is a question. So I am only using yet for a negative sentence in the present perfect and a question in the present perfect. Can you remember what is the difference between have gone to and have been to? Have gone to, we use have or has gone to say that the person has gone to a place and hasn't come back yet. Have been to, we use have or has been to say that the person has gone to a place and came back. So the difference is in the place of the person. Have gone to, it means that the person hasn't come back yet. Have been to, it means that the person came back. So this is the difference between have gone to and have been to. Welcome back to our class. This is the revision for week 8. We are going to revise be going to and will. First of all, we are going to start with be going to. When do I use be going to? We use be going to talk about plans for the future. As we said, we have decided before the moment of speaking. So we have made a plan for the future. So we use be going to talk about this plan. And also when there are definite signs that something is going to happen, I have evidence for the thing that which is going to happen in the future. So whenever we have evidence, we are going to use be going to. Take a look at these examples. She is going to travel to China, although it is very dangerous to travel these days. So she has already made a plan and she has already decided to travel to China. So she made the decision before the moment of speaking. So we used is going to travel. The other example, I think it is going to rain. I just felt a drop. So I have the evidence, which is I just felt a drop. I felt a drop on my skin, and that's why I expected that it is going to rain because I have an evidence. The structure is as any sentence in English, starting with the subject, followed by verb to be, am, is, or are, I with am, singular with is, plural with are, going to, To is followed by the infinitive form of the verb, the base form of the verb without any additions, plus the complement. So here is the usage of the structure of be going to. Here is the usage of be going to, the structure of be going to, and the examples of the usage of be going to. Moving to negative sentences and the questions. As we always said, negative sentences, it means that we are going to add not to the sentence. So the structure of a negative sentence using be going to is subject, am not, isn't or aren't, going to, followed by the infinitive form of the verb, the base form, and the complement. For questions, also I have two types of questions, yes or no question, WH word, WH question. In the yes or no question, as we used to do, we are going to switch between verb to be and the subject. So the question is going to start with verb to be, is or are, followed by the subject, going to, with the infinitive form of the verb plus the complement and a question mark. For the WH questions, the question is going to start with the WH word, which are who, when, where, what, which, followed by is or are, plus the subject, plus going to, with the infinitive form of the verb, followed by the complement. Pay attention that with the structure of be going to, we are always using the infinitive form of the verb. So this is all for the negative sentences and the questions. Don't forget that the answer of a yes or no question is yes or no. The answer of the WH questions is a piece of information. Now let's move to will. When do we use will? We use will to make predictions for the future. The structure of using will in a sentence, we are going to talk about affirmative sentences, negative sentences, and questions. Starting with the affirmative sentence, as any other sentence in English, it is going to start with a subject, followed by will with the infinitive form of the verb plus the complement. Negative sentence, which means that I am going to add not to the sentence. I have subject plus want, the infinitive form of the verb plus the complement. Want is the contraction of will plus not. Questions, I have also two types of questions, yes or no question and the WH question. A yes or no question is going to start with will, followed by the subject, infinitive form of the verb plus the complement. WH question is going to start with the WH word plus will plus the subject, followed by the infinitive form of the verb and the complement. Pay attention that also in will I am using the infinitive form of the verb without any additions. The affirmative sentence is like any other regular sentence in English, starts with a subject, followed by will with the infinitive form of the verb and complement. Negative sentence, I have added not to the sentence, so will becomes want. Questions, in yes or no question, I did the same idea that we were talking about, which is switching between will and the subject. WH question starts with a WH word, followed by will and subject, infinitive form of the verb plus the complement. So this is for the structure where I am using will in the sentences and questions. Examples for using will in a sentence. She will be at home soon. They won't come this year. Will they visit Lebanon this year? So the first example is an affirmative sentence. The second example is a negative sentence. The third example is yes or no question. Now I know that you all will mix between be going to and will. So what is the difference between be going to and will? Starting with be going to, we use be going to when we have already decided to do something. Take a look at the timeline here. So I made the decision before now, before the moment of speaking, and that's why I am going to use be going to. Or if I have an evidence that make me sure that the action will happen, I am going to use be going to. For will is used when we decide to do something at the same time of speaking. Take a look at this timeline. I am now talking and I will make the decision now. So the difference between be going to and will is the time of making the decision. So if I decided to make the thing before the present, I am going to use be going to. If I decided now to do something, which means that I am going to use will. This is the difference between be going to and will. Here are some exercises for you to practice the structures that we were talking about during this video. For the first exercise, choose the correct option. Read the sentences carefully, then choose. Exercise 2. Make present perfect questions. Order these sentences in the correct order, forming questions in the present perfect. Exercise 3. Make present perfect sentences. Order these words in the correct order, forming sentences in the present perfect. Exercise 4. Circle the correct answer. Read carefully and put a circle around the correct answer. Exercise 5. Fill in will or the correct form of be going to. So, read the sentence carefully, decide which to use, will or be going to, then write the correct answer. May Allah forgive our sins and help us use this blessed month to become better Muslims. Ramadan Mubarak. By the end of this video, I want to thank all my dear students for everything you do today and every day, and for making me so proud of you. Keep it up.